Buddhism continued. The selfish desire is a highly destructive emotional force, causing invasion, assault, rape, theft, violence, exploitation, corruption, and even war. In addition, carving for sensual enjoyment and sensual indulgence leads to a lavish consumption of natural resources and the polluting of the environment, resulting in depletion of resources, health problems, and worsening of the problem of poverty. Moreover, selfishness has also led to great disparities among people, with some becoming excessively rich and others excessively poor. Yet, upon careful consideration, we find that poverty often arises out of moral misconduct. If people are virtuous, they will be neither capitalists who exploit the poor nor people who are the subject of their exploitation. The second cause of problem, egotistical lust for dominance and power, manifests in the form of greed or ambition for being better and powerful than others. Individuals, groups, blocks, nations struggle and fight for supremacy in order to influence and dominate. They do not bother about the means or strategy they adopt to achieve the goal. Such an attitude leads to conflicts, quarrels, and war. It also creates an atmosphere of fear, suspicion, distrust, anxiety, and unrest to the people. Men seek peace by using material and financial resources in a negative way. While the whole world claims for peace, the whole world prepares for war too. At the global level, the world has for many decades been dominated by hostile relationship of the superpowers in their quest for security and superiority through arms race. World military expenditure is said to be well over $1.5 million every minute. A UNOP administrator in a statement to the UN General Assembly during the second special disarmament session in 1982 said, "All the technical cooperation UNOP has been charged to provide to developing countries over the next 5 years will cost less than the sum that will be consumed in world armament expenditures in the next 4 days." The late Lord Philip Noel Baker, at a conference in London in January 1977, said to the effect that for an expenditure of $500 million, about the cost of an aircraft carrier, the WHO could eliminate forever malaria, trachoma, leprosy, and yaws, the 4 diseases that impose a heavy load of economic loss and human suffering in the third world. The word of Sogyal Rinpoche, we spend millions of dollars every minute on training people to kill and destroy, and on bombs and planes and missiles. But why? Why do we spend hardly anything in comparison on teaching human beings the nature of life and helping them? The idiocy. From the foregoing discussion, it becomes evident that man is ready to exhaust all the resources, human, material and financial, at its command, even for negative and destructive purposes. He has no moral scruples whatsoever. It is the attitude of gratitude. It is the attitude that it is precipitating the crisis. The arms race render the world armed and people undernourished. It is the biggest threat to human survival at the moment. It is ironical to note that the very act of building up nuclear arsenal kills millions of human beings, even without their being used in a nuclear war, in the sense that they eat up all the resources meant for buying food. Naturally, for want of money to buy food, many nations cause starvation and death to their own people. The third cause of problems is clinging to a pet view, theory, faith, or ideology dogmatically. Many times violent social conflicts arise owing to people's strict and narrow-minded adherence to their own views and ideologies. Many a time such people have waged war to vindicate their stand or to prove their religious or ideological supremacy. Some even have marched their armies, invading faraway lands, to force their faiths on other people and made conquests and destruction in the name of their supreme being. While conflicts between religious groups and factions are still continuing today, modern people add to such problems war and conflicts with economic systems and political ideologies. Nations even divide into competing ideological blocs, religious and ideological persecutions and war, both cold and shooting between religious groups and factions, and between those who quarrel about different ideas of the best way to achieve happiness for all are taking place. Predictability, not finding peaceful means of ideological propagation and coexistence. What will prevail is not world peace and happiness that those faiths and ideologies prescribed, but human suffering and death. According to Venerable Bishop P.A. Payutu, wrong views, faith and ideology which exercise control over modern human civilization can be grouped into three main perceptions. 1. The perception that mankind is separate from nature, that mankind must control, conquer or manipulate nature according to his desire. 2. The perception that fellow human beings are not a fellow human being. Rather than perceiving the common situation of experiences shared among people, human beings have tended to focus on the differences between themselves. 3. The perception that happiness is dependent on an abundance of material possessions, that human beings will only find happiness through a wealth of material possession with which to feed their desire. The first perception shows the attitude of man towards nature. The second one tells what man's attitude to others is, and the third perception explains man's objective in life. In the present-day global scene of conflicts, quarrel and wars, it is not any specific motive, craving tana, conceit mana, false view deity, that drives people into the battlefield. But it is all three of them combined together that come into play, and their combination only makes the situation more serious, the problem more complicated, and the solution more difficult to achieve. In conclusion, one can say with conviction, that defilements, selfish desire, greed, hatred, false view or belief and delusion are the only factors which motivate man to exercise his tendency to destroy peace and create complex and multidimensional problems for mankind. Therefore, whatever the problems or wisdoms, war or peace, hatred or love, violence or non-violence, suffering or happiness, slavery or freedom, are in the hands of man. If man really requires peace and happiness and wishes for the survival of human race as well as all other living things, man has to change his views and his attitude to himself, others and nature as a whole. An attitude of gratitude, attitude of gratitude. What? An attitude of gratitude, an attitude of gratitude. No. The real conqueror. What is it that drives man to wage wars, and what does the want to conquer? Man is driven to war by his own selfish desire, anger and delusion. He believes that he would dominate and conquer others by waging a war, but by doing so he defeats himself. He is indeed defeated by his own defilements and ignorance within his mind. Only he who overcomes his who overcomes his unwholesome motives is the real victor. He is the true conqueror, the Buddha states. Though one should conquer 1,000,000 men in the battlefield, yet he, indeed, is the noblest victor who has conquered himself. In the practice of the teaching of the Buddha, we fight with the enemy: greed, aversion, delusion, hatred. We fight by using patience, endurance, and resisting our countless moods. It is a universal truth that evil can only be overcome by its opposite, positive forces of good, love, and compassion. The Buddha shows how to conquer anger and evil feeling, conquer anger by love, conquer evil by good. Man's strength lies in mercy and compassion. The brute in man does not allow him to realise his truth, to which the Master Buddha paid homage when he said that all anger, whether one's own or another's, must be conquered by non-anger. Unless man follows this injunction, his life is bound to be a farce. If he does not acknowledge this in his political and social life, the wicked will never cease from troubling others. The fire of conflict between states will never be extinguished. The monstrous cruelty of prisons and the threatening frowns of army barracks will make life increasingly intolerable, and there will be no end to all of this misery and suffering. The Dhammapada concludes that hatreds never cease through hatred. In this world, through love alone, they cease. This is an eternal law. Part 2, Buddhism and Peace. Calm is his mind, calm is his speech, calm is his action, who, rightly knowing, is wholly freed, perfectly peaceful, and equipoised. Equipoised. What is Buddhism? Buddhism is the religion by a man of human beings, and for human beings. It was introduced from direct individual's experience of man. It is not a revealed religion, as the founder did not get any divine message. It is not a system of faith and worship owing allegiance to any supernatural being. What he did, using his own energy and effort, was to eradicate all evil thoughts, words, and actions, and to purify his mind. Such purity of mind is called enlightened or awaked. The name Buddhism comes from the word Buddhai, which means enlightenment or to wake up. Thus, Buddhism is the religion of enlightening or awakening. This religion has its own origins in the experience of the man called Prince Siddhartha Gautama, known as the Buddha, who was himself enlightened at the age of 35. He found a religion called Buddhism, not based on the concept of God, divine power, permanent self, eternal hell or eternal heaven, as usually did by most of the religion. He made no use of fear or distorted views regarding natural phenomena to support his teaching. Neither did he ask for blind faith or demand unnecessary rites and rituals. He did not believe in self-torture or the imposition of penalties or commandments. In the building up of Buddhism, what is more, he sought of divine revelation. He in fact used new, rational reasoning and scientific investigation, which can be practiced, understood and proved here and now. He encouraged people to follow the middle path by understanding the nature of life, the world, the natural phenomena of cosmic order, the real characteristics of the mind and matter, elements and energies, the acquisition of moral and spiritual development, self-discipline, self-responsibility, self-training, mental development and purification, knowledge, wisdom and enlightenment. Once understood these natural truths, man will live together with trust, pure love, and achieve the state of real peace and true happiness. These are the elements of the religion he found. Who was the Buddha? The word Buddha means awakened one, or awaken one. Anyone who has awakened from ignorance and delusion and sees things as they really are, can be called Buddha. Buddha, the founder of Buddhism, is not a god, son of God, or God's messenger. Rather, he is a man who is completely free from all suffering and mental obstructions and understands the nature of all things. According to Buddhist teachings, there were many Buddhas in the past and will be many Buddhas in the future. The present Buddha was born into a royal family in North India in the year 623 BC. He was known as Prince Siddhartha Gautama. King Suddhodana and Queen Mahamaya was his parents. He was born in Lumbini Park at Kapilavastu Kingdom in Nepal near the Indian border. As a prince, he grew up in wealth and luxury, but eventually found that worldly comfort, enjoyment and security did not guarantee happiness and peace. He was deeply moved by the suffering he saw all around, resolved to find the key to human happiness. He therefore decided to leave his palace and family when he was 29. He set off to sit at the feet of many great religious teachers of the day to learn from them. They taught him much, but none really knew the cause of human suffering and how it could be overcome. He then left all the teachers and went on his way on his own, applying the reflective thought of conscious meditation to a rational, simple life of moderation. At the age of 35, on a full moon night, while sitting under the Bodhi tree, it was the Leo full moon last Sunday, wasn't it? Engrossed in deep meditation, he had an experience in which all ignorance and delusion just fell away, and he suddenly understood and realised the natural truth. His mind burst the bubble of the universe and realised the true nature of all things. From that day onwards, when he was 35, he was called the Buddha, the awakened or enlightened one. For the rest of his life, after attaining enlightenment, he travelled from place to place all over India, teaching and guiding others. A great number of people from all walks of life and of all classes and castes approached him in his 80th year, old and sick, but still happy and at peace. He finally passed away. Concept of peace. Never before in the history of the world has human society been in a great need for freedom. Freedom from being a slave of materialism. Freedom from tension. Freedom from this psychiatric ward. Freedom from tension, anxiety, conflict, strives and wars. People are in dire need of peace, not only for their own personal view at home, but also in their working place. Their need is reflected at all levels of activities and organisation. But as long as man is dominated by ignorance, greed, selfishness, hatred, injustice, vengeance, and all other evil destructive forces, there will not be any hope of peace and freedom at all. Today, more than at any other time in the past, people need to return to Dharma. Dharma generally means tolerance, mutual understanding, righteous conduct and truthfulness. If people realise the value of Dharma and confidently practice Dharma, they would be able to distinguish right from wrong, good from bad, to see the evils of fighting and choose to follow what is good and beneficial for themselves and others as well. The world then will be a better place to live. People will live in a state of peace and happiness. Leading people to achieve such peace and happiness is the sole aim of Buddhism. Go ye now, monks, and wander for the gain and welfare of many, out of compassion, is the Buddhist policy announced by Buddha to his disciples to follow. The Prime Minister of Japan, on the occasion of the proceedings of the 10th Buddhist International Conference duly, brought out such an idea of Buddhism, of Buddhist practice. He said, Buddha Dharma is the teaching of peace and compassion, and it is the shining light assuring humankind prone to suffering conflicts. Warfare in the dark age of friendly and harmonious mutual existence. This light of Buddha Dharma is the guidepost leading not only Buddhists but all beings in the world to the eternal peace for which they are yearning. According to Buddhist teaching, man has the right and the ability to pursue the noble path, as shown by the Buddha. The noble path leads to a state of peace and happiness. Even the most vicious person can, by his effort, become a virtuous being. The choice is up to man himself. Two levels of peace. Peace, according to Buddhism, can be categorised into two levels based on its quality as shown below. 1. The first stage is called mundane peace, or relative peace, technically known as Lokiya Santi. This peace can be achieved in this complex world by skillfully dealing with and associating oneself with people with mutual respect and mutual understanding, by keeping oneself fit to external environments, not indulging in materialism, and being satisfied with the present living situation in life, being honest and sincere in one's own duties in accordance with the teachings of the Buddha. The second stage of peace may be called supramundane, or absolute peace. It is known in Pali as Lokatara or Paramatta Santi. This peace is considered as the real and perfect peace. It is the peace of mind, which is independent of external material pleasure. It is the highest and eternal peace. This type of peace is the ultimate goal of Buddhism, Nibbana. To refer to the Dhammapada, there is no bliss higher than this peace. Wealth, power, fame, praise, dignity and health are associated with mundane peace and worldly happiness. This peace and happiness. Happiness is the ultimate sense, the real and perfect peace in the state of mind, the tranquillity of mind, which controls disciplines, cultures and purifies all defilements. Therefore, the mundane peace is not an end by itself, but a means to an end, whereas the supramundane peace is an end in itself. Peace is happiness. In Buddhism, peace is nothing but perfect happiness. There will not be a peace without happiness. Thus, real happiness and true peace are synonyms. And an unhappy man cannot find peace in the absence of peace. No one can be happy, and those who are unhappy cannot live in peace. Only the happy man has real peace. Only the man whose peace can have real happiness. One man who is happy radiates happiness. A man who has peace diffuses peace. A man who has no peace of mind tends to break peace in his family, among neighbours and wherever he is. The man who has peace within himself naturally and automatically lives in a place with peace with everyone. This is the happy and the peaceful man, in the full sense of the term. His peace and happiness is true of life. The mundane goal of Buddhism is to live a happy life among various kinds of people, in different situations and different environments. Happily do we live without hatred amongst the hateful. Amidst hateful men we dwell unhating. Oh, happily do we live in good health amongst the ailing. Amidst ailing men we dwell in good health. However, the ultimate aim of Buddhism is the attainment of permanent peace and eternal happiness. As the Dhammapada says, health is the highest gain. Contentment is the greatest wealth. The trusty are the best kinsmen. Nirvana is the highest bliss and happiness. Peace is freedom. It is interesting to note that Buddhism uses the term freedom as another synonym for real peace and happiness. One who possesses peace and happiness is also free from all attachments of material, social, religious conditions, free from the feeling of greed, selfishness, hatred, lust, delusion, suffering, and so on. According to Buddhism, freedom can be grouped into four main levels: physical, social, emotional, and intellectual freedom. These levels of freedom are indispensable for the realisation of peace and happiness. Pra Rajavarumni, a Thai prominent Buddhist monk of Thailand, interestingly explains these levels of freedom as follows. 1. Physical freedom, or freedom in relation to the material world or physical environment, natural or technological. This covers freedom from sabotage of the basic needs of life, being the requisites of food, clothing, shelter and healthcare. Freedom consisting in safety from threatening calamities and unfavourable natural conditions, i.e. to have, among other things, a beneficial natural environment and to wisely use natural resources, requisites of life, and technology in such a way that they serve to enhance one's life's qualities. Man does not become a slave to his physical needs or environment. 2. Social freedom, or freedom in relation to the other people, the community, society or social environment. This is represented by freedom from oppression, persecution, exploitation, violation of human values, fighting and war, and non-violation of the 5 precepts. In positive terms, having good and friendly relationships with neighbours, caring for social welfare and such values are equally liberty, fraternity, discipline, respect for law, tolerance and cooperation. 3. Emotional freedom, or freedom of the heart. At the ideal level, this refers to the state of freedom from all traces of mental defilements and suffering. The state of mind that is unshakably worldly, vicissitudes, there's some words in here, isn't there? That is profound, purified, sorrow-free, secure, and profoundly happy and peaceful. Nibbana includes freedom from all kinds of mental illness, stress, anxiety, frustration, depression, greed, jealousy, hatred, and so on. In positive terms, it is the state of being endowed with beneficial mental qualities such as love, compassion, generosity, tranquility, mental strength, purity and peacefulness. 4. Intellectual freedom, or freedom through knowledge and wisdom. Belonging to this class of freedom are the processes of perceiving and learning that there are clear of and free from distortion by any bias or ulterior motives, freedom of thinking and judgment, and the free exercise of knowledge and wisdom as just, honest, sincere and accurate, not influenced by prejudices, self-interest, greed, hatred or any selfish motive, and the knowledge of the all things as they really are, the insight into the true nature of all things, together with a worldview based on that knowledge. However, these 4 levels of freedom can also be reclassified as 3 by combining the 3rd and the 4th levels together as one. The most influential factor for peace is freedom, and freedom is nothing external, but it is one's own mental attitude. It is a state of mental stability, serenity, awareness, integration and purification of mind. Training the mind to attain such a state of peaceful mind is almost most important. Once the mind becomes stable and tranquil, enough to face all kinds of irksome situations, no external factor can affect it. One may wonder how Buddhism can help one attain peace. Buddhism is a practical science. Whoever wants peace has to sincerely practice. Buddha Dharma embodies all the principles of practical life, which is applicable to all kinds and all levels of people. These principles enables the practitioner to discipline the mind. Once the mind is disciplined, the righteousness of physical and verbal activities will follow. A peaceful and happy society will be the final result. Path to peace. This section attempts to explain the Buddha's way of establishing peace in the world. In the preceding section, we have already discussed the problems plaguing the modern society. Whereas man has reached a high state of scientific and technological advancement, morally and inwardly he has reached a depth of spiritual bankruptcy. As a result, man is being plagued by unforeseen dangers, new and unknown fear and diseases on an unprecedented scale. Both the rich and the poor are unhappy. Both prosperity and poverty are driving man mad, and man is in very pitiable and helpless predicament. It is common knowledge that many governments are trying to solve their socio-economic problems through their immoral strategies, force and violence. They don't know any better. They're trying to end up surplus wars and rebellions by waging another war. They have even popularised the slogan, "War for Peace." But we know violence breeds violence, and such violence will always prove future. From the Buddhist points of view, it is absolutely wrong to end a war by another war and killing by killing. These kinds of attempts to solve the problems of the world are like cleaning something muddied with muddy water. It only makes matters worse. The Buddha states that the victory breeds hatred, and the defeated lies down in misery. The conqueror naturally incurred the animosity of many persons, while the defeatist would be buried in a state of sorrow. Yet never would a person engaged in war repent his conduct of violence after the conquest. However, wars and conflicts will not end. The defeated party will still be waiting to take revenge. The problem will be everlasting. Therefore, the Buddha states in the same verse that the peaceful dwell in happiness, neither victors nor defeated. The peaceful dwell in happiness, neither victors nor defeated. The peaceful dwell in happiness, neither victors nor defeated. Thanks for listening. The right path to peace. The first and most important step man needs to take in the present situation is to bring about a change in his attitude of gratitude. What was it? It was gratitude of attitude. I tell you, gratitude of attitude. This kind of attitude is no longer viable. Human beings must learn to live harmoniously among each other and with the natural environment. In order to be able to do so, man should re-examine his attitude towards others by constantly checking himself to see whether he is behaving properly. If he finds that he has gone wrong, he has to prepare himself to admit his faults and stand corrected. That is why the Buddha declares, instead of finding fault in others, look to your own misdeeds. Man has to begin with himself, establishing peace within, before carrying the message of peace to others. To bring peace to human society, therefore, is the responsibility of everyone. Man has created peace for himself, his neighbour, and other beings, including the natural environment. In the words of the Tibetan Dalai Lama. Okay, I'm going to have to leave it there because they've made me take medication and it's messing with me. If anyone's got any tips, constructive feedback of how to deal with this situation, I think we are dealing with it well, but not overly impressed with having to have to take medication. But yeah, if anyone's had any experience, got any tips, then please feel free to share a message. That would be great. Thanks for listening. done 1 week. Hopefully I'll get a night's sleep tonight. It's been about 8 nights of no sleep, just these bizarre trance states. My internal world's deaf and dumb and blind, and my eyes are wide open. I can see out of them, but there's just no neurological connections, and my arms are just going down the walls, walking. The body is just the most amazing bioorganic computer and incredible things. And it's been the sound meditations and the sound healing that's got me here. And this Friday, the 14th, Valentine's Day, is World Sound Healing Day. So if any of you need your batteries recharging, or just want to be taken to other levels of vibration in your body, being held by your breath, just feeling so loved, not from anyone else, just yourself, and you can do it from your couch, wherever, then join in on Friday, because the more that join in, the bigger the vibration, the wider the ripple effects. Let's start a circular system thinking world. Let's get from this linear system world of constructive criticism into constructive feedback, information loop, compassion, understanding, allowing people to have their freedom of expression. And that is what I have in here, ironically. I'm probably one of the most inhibited in here. Experiences. Well, at least now I've reached my darkest fears. See you tomorrow, guys. Sweet dreams. Don't let the crocodiles bite. I don't think Mr. Dundee's around to help you out.